What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I'm back again with another video. If you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Rivah. It's very nice to meet you. Before we get into this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. And as I always say, make sure you guys leave your comments in the comment section down below. It does not matter how you feel about this video. We all want to talk about it. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow my Instagram. It's at RIVAH_JORDON. Listen, I actually was a bit under the weather Thursday night and all day yesterday, Friday. Like really, really not feeling good. Like basically fighting like flu-like symptoms. So I took a day off. Now somehow between Thursday, the rest of Thursday and Friday, I missed a whole conversation that the lead attorney had with April Mason, right? So I missed that whole conversation. However, it looks like he got Kevin Samuels on to chime in about the conversation. So we're going to be able to see all of this information together. I know snippets of the conversation of what was said, but we're going to jump in and find out the whole shebang.
What did you kind of think about some of her talking points? And this is one of the things I'd say, especially for newer content creators who are coming into this space. There is just so first year of law school, in my understanding, first year of law school is a weed out year. Yes. And they accomplish that by many tasks, but what I understand is a big part of it is reading. Yes, it's a lot of reading. That's like coming into any of these male spaces. There's the first year is a weed out year because this has been going on since 2012 and before. When Tom Likas was doing this stuff on the West Coast, before the internet and before YouTube even existed, that's part of the context. So, you know, whatever iteration of the manosphere, the black manosphere you want to say we're in right now, there was content creators, female content creators who were just on the other side. April Mason was one of them. I can tell you for the better part of 10 years, she's been making content for women. And one of the things that I think, because you're a new guy and you open your platform, you let everybody come up. I understand what you're doing. You have to be diplomatic and let people, because you got to be neutral. Yeah. And what I think I'm starting to see is people, your platform, you're not a small content creator. So people who already have well-established content profiles will come over here when they would never, ever go over into the Thunderdome or any of these other platforms, because they would have to speak about their evolution or their change. Someone would bring it up, like, right. So when you couldn't understand what was going on in the contents in the comments.
Okay, so yeah, Godfather's saying if she came over here, I will have some questions to ask her because her talking points were something that were completely different. And that's so funny because when I did a reaction to one of her videos when she was interviewed, I saw a lot of like funny stuff in the comment section that I was a little confused about based off of the one video of hers that I had saw, which was the video I reacted to. So I do find that kind of interesting. A lot of people were saying, you know, well, she used to talk about this or she used to say this kind of stuff. And I had never really heard anything else about it. I also didn't see any other content for me to react to from her. So I find that very interesting that he's bringing that up.
I think your reaction was kind of like, hey, what I'm getting from the comment section is completely different than what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Well, it's because they saw April Mason a year or so ago basically hold black men to task on a false allegation that her cousin put out. And that's been well documented. And instead of coming back and saying, hey guys, my cousin did such and so forth, and I was in my car and I got a little heated and I, blah, blah, blah. No, she doubled and tripled down to the fact that where she brought guys onto her platform to pretty much admonish us men. So that's how a lot of guys kind of were looking at the content, from what I understand. Now, when she did put out the thing where she said she quit, we understood that. We were like, yeah, all right, cool. Right. And it was kind of like, something we had seen previously when another person quit, and she basically said, "Well, I'm not doing this anymore, so I can tell all the truth." Mm-hmm. And that's when everybody was like, "Okay, so I mean, people know what's going on,
mm-hmm. Right?"
But when she was on your platform, it was almost like, "Oh, so now you're back to where you were a minute ago." And the thing, and I say, cool, but the notion that I think who was it earlier, the whole dopeness. I'm like different. And let me also make a big distinction too. When I talk about high value men, I want to make this crystal clear. Mm-hmm. There is a difference between being an athlete, entertainer, or a musician, and a business person.
Right.
Due respect, we only get our value after years and years of work. Mm-hmm. Competition and becoming subject matter experts in a particular field. And no disrespect to those guys on athletics, entertainment, and musicians, they get their money earlier through different channels. So we look at money differently. We look at what we've had to do. And even women who are dating men from that sphere know it's different than dating men from the business sphere. Completely different.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Even if the money is on par, we're not as loose with it. Right. We are much more. What am I getting from it?
Because of the the workload that you had to do to attain it is very, very different. Climbing the ladder, the corporate ladder, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's completely different.
In a lot of guys' minds is I didn't have a talent that jumped me to the head of the financial line in my youth. I had to make myself valuable in a courtroom, in a boardroom, in the surgical room, on scaffolding, in the field of battle, or whatever. Right. So when we start hearing women talking about men are byproducts of doing
yes. Let me do this. Let me try to play a clip where she said that. She was basically saying that, and I had
go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had never heard this. Give me a second to pull it up. I had never heard this argument put forth before, so I thought it was interesting. Let's hear what she has to say about men and the role that they play in women's lives here.
This worked. It worked for me. It worked, because I'm all excited. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Girl, you get yourself right. You do this. Become the feminine woman for you first. The man is the byproduct. The man is not the reason why you're here. He is the byproduct. If you do these things, you're not in a hurry to get married.
Before I continue the video, I did a live with Chantel Simone the Thursday that I said I wasn't feeling good. So I guess this conversation had happened on that time. And she brought this point up, and I was saying, just that mindset alone is backwards, right? That mindset is backwards because that's still kind of having that like independent woman, I could do bad all by myself mindset. I'm gonna elevate, I'm gonna do all of these things for myself, and then a man will come after. No, I mean, in actuality, the man getting into a relationship with a man and being with a man should be at the forefront of your mind. And as much as we could talk about like doing all of this work and then a man will follow, like in actuality, you're doing it for said man, right? So that's when that point was, brought to me, I was kind of like, that's kind of like on the other side of the spectrum. That little statement is like completely the opposite of the things that we talk about. We talk about how it's important to keep that on the forefront of your mind. How if you want to be married, you need to be figuring out what kind of the men that you're attracted to, what they like, what they're into, like all of these things. So the complete opposite of the things that she said.
And so people would always ask me, how do you do what you do when you're not married? I said, because I am a walking example of what I teach.
So let me stop it right there. Which, and I had never heard a woman say this before, but so it was interesting to me. But she's basically saying, listen, if a woman doesn't need to try to get the man. What the woman needs to do is become dope. And once she becomes dope, then the man coming to her is a byproduct of her becoming dope, right? So she should become dope, and then all of these men will easily come. And, I kind of want to know how you feel about that because, that's going to work maybe for the 9s and 10s. But to be honest, the 9s and 10s, we're going to get the man anyway, right? But I've never heard of someone calling a man kind of a byproduct.
Well, I want to also go back to something. I think I heard in the beginning, correct me if I'm wrong, a good deal amount of faith, talking about gifting. My gifts came in a different way in God, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm first off, if we're going to look at it from that being how y'all started the conversation, Adam was not a byproduct of Eve. Quite the opposite. So I don't know where you get that from as a Christian woman. I don't understand how you even substantiate that if we're going to talk about God and gifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a big disconnect. And then she was going on talking about how men think we are the validators, but we're really not. Let me play this clip right here. We can kind of see what she's saying.
See, people think that the man is the validator. Although I love you guys, I love a man. Just the way y'all walk and how y'all smell and just all of that, right? Mm-hmm. But you're the byproduct. See, women would think or question me, she don't have a husband because I wasn't supposed to have a husband while I was going through developing who April was. If I would have remarried during that time, I would have been divorced again.
Yeah, so she's basically saying, what women need to work on themselves. And once they work on themselves, then all of these 6-figure men, 7-figure men, 8-figure men are going to come. And what I thought was super interesting is that she was saying, she said later on that once all these 6-figure men, 7-figure men, 8-figure men come, she doesn't need to be in a rush to get married. She needs to start dating this 7-figure man. Then maybe she'll start dating this 8-figure man. Then maybe, sample this 6-figure man over here. And then just take her time and then select from the 6 and 7 and 8-figure man which of these men is going to be her husband.
So this is again completely the complete contradiction of the things that are talked about, right? Of saving, relationships, getting people in long-term relationships, marriages, creating families. Basically, it's just a nice way of what the, hot girls are saying. Nice way of saying it. Work on yourself, focus on you, elevate yourself. The man is the byproduct. He's not the validator. And then when you are of, a certain caliber, then you can be with a 6-figure man, 7-figure man, 8-figure man, and then you'll have your options. So then you can just kind of like date around. It's the same exact concept that we are turning women's faces away from because that's what's not working. Okay, you spend all of these years working on yourself, which really means going out there, being all willy-nilly with it. Okay, let's be honest. You spend all of these years. How are you going to put those things into action if you're not in a relationship? How are you going to know how feminine you are or how you're going to deal with certain situations if you're not working through these things in a relationship under the leadership of a man? How is that possible? I'm not talking about going to therapy, okay? I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm just talking about a lot of these people that say working on their self, they're not doing those things. They just out here, doing whatever they want to do. And talking about oh no, I don't want to be in an exclusive relationship because I'm trying to work on myself. It's the complete opposite of the things that we talk about.
How does that work in reality?
Well, again, I go back to the original thing. If you're going to be talking about Christians and that kind of stuff, it doesn't work. Eve did not have a selection of men. It was Adam. And Adam definitely was the validator because God never spoke to Eve. He gave the instructions on what to do in the garden directly to Adam. God, there's nothing in Genesis with God ever speaking to Eve. But even if we want to go further, what we're hearing is modern woman.
Yeah.
Right. It's modern woman empowerment, independent, but I like men. Nature doesn't even support what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Nature doesn't tell women to wait until you get all these men to pick from. That's not what happens. But when you're telling, I did think that there were some truths interspliced with some opinions and some points of view. And when you have a primarily female audience, you got to tell women, like she said in that broadcast, you want to get paid, tell women what they want to hear.
Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
But if you're also going to try to make the turn and start speaking to a broader male audience, you have to try to tell us some good lies. That's why I love my theme song. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make any sense. That's why your chat room was going ballistic. Because they were like, no, if you have to make yourself dope, you know you. So women make women dope for men. How do you do that if you don't ask the men what they want? You cannot make the byproduct. You cannot make the end goal. That's why I love my show. What do you want? And what do the kind of men you want from a woman? And it always goes through what we want.
Right.
See, what we're telling women is get out here and become dope. Get out here and become this and that. And what does that really mean? Get out here and make a lot of money. Get out here and make yourself independent and somehow dark femininity. Was it dark femininity?
Yeah, dark feminine energy, she was saying.
Well, you could say dark feminine energy, and some people will say Jezebel. I'm not making a judgment either way. I don't have to hang up on sexuality but what I mean, sexuality meaning that women are supposed to be prudish. But at the end of the day, it sounded like partnership. It sounded as though that when a woman becomes dope, then she's got this plethora of I got options and these men coming out of this and that. Yeah, but are they vetting you to be their wife?
That's the question.
Right.
And that's what we never really get to. Yeah, you can be attractive and you can be you live in Atlanta. I'm in the Buckhead area. I see lots of arm candy. But what I see more often, especially in other races, is wedding rings. Yes. That is the ultimate validation. A man is judged on the kind of woman he can attract. A woman is judged by the kind of man that she can keep. And in the keeping, it becomes last name legal wedding ring.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. You were talking about this whole thing about partnership, right? And April, in this I don't want to call it an interview, when she just came up and she was speaking, she was kind of, saying that, women had some responsibility in this, but men also had some responsibility in this. She was talking about how men sometimes they are not creating the environment that is necessary for women to really show their true femininity. Mm-hmm. Let's kind of see where she's going with this.
Place what you do. So when you move the corporate ladder or get successful in your business, that does not mean you don't be the woman. And a lot of times, especially our men, they say they want this type of woman, but they don't create an environment for that woman to actually be. Because they're so used to doing. When they say, I want a strong woman like my mom, well, what was your mother's quality of life? Did she work 4 and 5 jobs? There's no way I could be with a man that wanted me to work every day, take care of the kids, and be his sex kitten, his sexy vixen, his confidant, his peaceful place, and all of those things. Mm-hmm. So that's why I tell women, you got to decide on what kind of man that you want.
So what do you think about that?
I think that just shows what true femininity is. A woman who is truly submissive and a woman who is truly, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Because how many women do we know that actually do these things? That actually, go to work, clean up after the kids, make dinner, do all of these things, make breakfast, and do it over and over again because they just only know how to operate in excellence. They don't care that they're working as well. They don't care that their man is working as well. They know what their duty is in the home, and they're still going to be able to do so even if they are working 24/7. So that's really interesting that she said that.
Kevin, she's saying, listen, a lot of you men, you don't create a space for your woman to become feminine. You want her to work and you want her to take care of your kids and you want her to have sex with you. How are you expecting a woman to do all of that, if you're not, I guess, making, 100% of the money and you're not allowing her to stay home with the kids?
Okay.
What's your sense of that?
My sense of that is
Yeah, because
2.5 million black men are in the in the upper class. There are 40 million black people in this country. Roughly half of men and women, so it's 20 million. 2.5 of that 20 million black men are in the upper class. 54% of black men are single and childless. 61% are in the middle class. So according to the stats, that's providing like a mother sucker if you're picked. See, what this is a lot more of this. I would be a feminine woman if you could provide for me so much that I could, quote unquote, rest in my femininity. Well, if that's the case, then don't get mad at these very men who can't provide well enough for you. Pick Becky, Marisol, Marlene, or Jamila. Right. You know, the difference between what an average white man makes in this country and an average black man makes is right around $9,000. But there's a definite disparity in the way we're treated between the races. And Hispanic men earn below us, and they damn sure get treated better. Mm-hmm. This is more of that. I'll be the woman you need if you provide. That's conditional femininity, and then women would not accept conditional masculinity.
Correct. And this is kind of what she was saying. And I wonder myself, and you talk to so many women on your shows, and you kind of have a real sense of how they operate. It seems to me, and even April was saying, she was like, hey, I run all of these companies, but I only allow myself 10% of masculinity on this day or 15% of masculinity on this day, because if I go over too much masculinity, then I would just become masculine. And to me, I interpret that as almost that she has a dial, right? And she can just choose when she becomes masculine and when she...
Conditional, just like Kevin said, conditional. So that means you either are or you're not, right? Women that are 100% feminine, even if they do work, there's no stepping into masculine energy at all. They're just doing the things that need to be done as a woman, as in their feminine essence. There's no need for them to bend or, like he said, turn the dial up or down. They just are. If you have a dial on your masculinity as a woman, that means that that's what you are. You're never really turning down the masculine energy. What you're doing is just dialing in the femininity. So you're more masculine than you are feminine, because you have to turn it on and off. It's crazy.
Becomes feminine. And it seems like a lot of women are saying, hey, if you want me to work, right, then maybe I'm not going to be so feminine. If you want me to take care of the kids, maybe you don't get any sex. It's this conditional. Do you see that when you talk with a lot of people?
I see a lot for justification for why they're failing. But I go back to the original failure. A lot of these women thought their mothers and their grandmothers are fools. Mm-hmm. A lot of these women, baby boomers, thought the silent generation of women were fools because they stayed with their fathers, and a lot of these women rebelled against the very thing that made the black community great, family. And then when they get in their late 40s or 50s, then all of a sudden they get these epiphanies. And you go back and say, well, why were we married at a rate of 80+% prior to 1965? Are we saying the women back there were better because they had to work 4 and 5 jobs and all this other kind of stuff? No, because they took pride in their families, their last name, their legacy. They weren't so goddamn selfish.
Right.
This is a lot of selfishness. Mm-hmm. And it's me, my boss, dope, this, that, and that's fine. My issue is that no other group of women has such poor outcomes and refuses to look in the mirror and the rhetoric that they're talking about. So what they've done is, I don't know, how old are you? I'm 52. My entire lifetime, my entire life I've heard black men are at the bottom, this, that, but now we have the internet and we have the data to actually go out against these narratives to show that it's not the problem. The problem is not with the selection of men, it's the problem with the selection of wives. Because what would happen is, men are like you or I were to get out here, and if we were to show up with anything other than a black woman on our arm, and I know what would happen. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, instead of they would go after you or me instead of saying, why did black women lose another one?
Right. And again, to be fair to April, she in that post, that Instagram post that lit it all up, she herself was saying that women are not being accountable. Women are rejecting accountability. They are rejecting responsibility. They do not want to accept some of the flaws and the errors that they're making that are causing maybe some of these men to look in other directions. Right?
And the thing is, and here's the thing: telling black women the truth has a high cost, and some people think they can pay it, but you'll know the first time you tell the truth what happens, the blowback, right? Because the truth is true no matter what you say. Why? When we talk about I can't be feminine because I got to work too hard. Then I look at these women who come into this country illegally. Who I worked in restaurants. I've seen hardworking people.
Yes.
How come Jose and Maria? How come Jose can stand out in front of Home Depot and Maria can be a dishwasher, but he comes home and he gets treated like a king?
Okay.
And they're broke. And see, here's the net of it. Okay, let's just take the argument. You're right. Black men can't provide. We're behind. We're poor leaders. Then where are the non-black men rushing to marry you? Because if you're ready to go, if you're all these dope women,
not ready to go.
There's Blake, Lee, Ahmed, and Enrique marrying black women in droves, especially the higher earners, the ones that have to make. But see, what's funny is when we see a lot of women who tend to go outside the community, they tend to date down.
Yes.
And then they become all kinds of feminine. So it's really down to the reality is what we've discussed. The war in the black community is, do you like your male counterparts? And the issue today is now, unlike when I was a young man, men were taking that responsibility on and trying to fix it. Now guys recognize that, hell, we're dope. We're hella dope.
Right.
And that's one thing that I love so much about the manosphere is the self-respect that these men that maybe didn't have so much are starting to gain. They're starting to say like, hey, like, it matters what I like. It matters what I want. It matters what I want somebody to bring to the table. Because as much as, like, everything has always been surrounded by women, men need to know that their opinions, their thoughts, what they want, what they're looking for matters a lot because they're the ones who are giving access to marriage. Okay, so I think that's very, very important. And as he just said, they're realizing like, yeah, like I'm cool too. Exactly. And your standard should be high.
His mother, we're dope, and white women just don't like you because you're a sex op. They like you because you're a good man. Hispanic women don't just like you because you got a big job. They just like you because you're a good guy.
Yep.
They like you for functional health reasons, not some Mandingo slave Django fantasy. And that's the reality. It's like you can't keep telling women to be dope, and you don't see some dope outcomes. How are we measuring dope outcomes? And if it's on dealing with hooking up, going to conferences, seminars, such and so forth, where are the last names? Where are the properties? Where are the wills? Where are the trust funds?
Right.
Where's all this stuff? Where's all the stuff? Because if you want, I'm not going to do it this week, but if you look at the stats of what's happened with other groups, the amount of wealth, Tone Talks is talking about this, the amount of wealth the white community made during COVID versus the black community. Marital filings were up at a 50-year high in every community except ours. And it's not because, and we have been told our entire lives it's because black men are deficient. No, black men are doing just fine.
Yes, what do you think the impetus is or the resistance coming from women to kind of change? Because it seems that men are trying to be very, very clear about what we are seeing, and there's this huge resistance. We talk sometimes about weight, which is an issue in our community. and women not wanting to lose weight, which granted, it requires a lot of effort, right? Or maybe for some women to express their femininity. You know, April was talking about dialing it in and out. Maybe it's hard for a woman to dial that femininity up because then they start looking weak. It seems like women are practicing this type of conservation of energy where they don't want to expend effort to make their men, their black men, happy. Or do you see this, or is it kind of
because when you were 80% of us are raised, they think a lot of black women feel like we're their property. There are mothers, there are babysitters, there are teachers. The image of black men is not really an image of power. So they think that, how do you think you can have a 20-something-year-old woman come try to tell me about business and she's homeless? I mean, because that's our culture.
Right.
I mean, to answer your bigger question, why the pushback? Well, because one, when you're desperate, possibility is more important than probability. Because when you're desperate, possibility is all you got to hold on to. The exception is more comforting than the norm. Because the fact of the matter is, when men get older and more successful, they have more options, and women have more competition.
And this is why I strongly don't agree with what she's saying about, work on yourself, become dope, and then after that you're gonna have all these options, then date everybody. Do you know how much time that's wasting for women? Okay, and a lot of these women that she's talking to are either in the danger zone or on the way into the danger zone. So by the time they do this, they're going to end up still being 35, 40 with no man, no nothing. And then the options for them as they do age, as they do get older, get a lot slimmer. And that's just being honest, because a man that's ready to settle down, maybe he wants to have children. Maybe that's not an option for her because of all this, working on herself and all that kind of stuff.
At the end of the day, Lee, the black man ain't nothing to compete for. So why should they struggle? There ain't nothing to compete for. I mean, you should be just happy that they're willing to talk to you. Well, I could compete for you? Come on, man. That ain't nah.
Yes. Wow. Women will absolutely say, because we actually, to really boil it down to a concrete example, April Mason, she made another post about black women fixing black men a plate, a Thanksgiving plate. Right. So in terms of like losing weight, or in terms of changing, in terms of becoming more femininity, no, we're talking about one single act of putting some collard greens and putting some chicken on a plate.
Wait a minute, bro. Counselor, how can you get a plate when you can't get a smile?
Yeah.
Yes. The reality is, a lot of brothers are having to see how so many black women truly feel about the black male image.
True.
And it's not good.
True.
It's not good. And I'm glad that a lot of black men are starting to wake up and realize it's not your fault.
Yes.
It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility for you to change it. It's not. You've had to become who you are through all the trials and tribulations, everything else been put in front of you. You don't have to prove yourself to a woman. Okay. That has never been how this works. She's supposed to earn your last name.
I love that he said that it's not your fault, because a lot of these women that we see that act this way have a lot of their own traumas, right? They're a lot of their own problems, baggage, all of these things. And if it was literally anybody else, they would take it on them the same exact way. So I love that he's saying that you don't have to stick with somebody, and you don't have to deal with the disrespect, the, dishonor, the, attitude every single day, being miserable every single day. No, you do have choices. And that's one of the things that we always talk about, because it's important that you are aware of that, because a lot of women will get into relationships with men and make them feel like it's their duty to stick with them no matter how disrespectful, rude, or whatever it is that they are to them, because, you're my man and we're in this together. No, he doesn't have to be. He can leave, and he will have other options. What about you, though?
Yes.
And that's how it works in every other group. So I'm not trying to get women to become less dope or this or that. And if they're so great one, let's just look at the numbers. At the end of the day, the filings. And if you look at the inversely proportional curve of happiness, especially in the Black community, happiness for Black women is descending at an exponential rate, and happiness is ascending. And it's after 30 is where it starts, and after 40 is where it really takes off. So if you are this is why tonight when I'll be talking about, I'm focusing like a laser on women 32 and above. If you're past the wall, the biological wall that nature put out there, we didn't put it out there, nature did. Okay, if you're past the wall, if the last time you can remember that you were actually an appropriate dress size was an elementary or junior high. I mean, seriously, I asked them, when's the last time you remember being a dress size 6? I was never a dress size 6. So you went from the womb to a 22. So if it's been so long since they've had to even, the notion of even competing for a Black man is foreign. So what we're trying to do is they're trying to legislate male attractiveness. They're trying to get men to accept it. And men just aren't doing it because they don't have to. I posted on my community tab that younger people are opting to not get married for their own reasons. We're of a different generation. See, we saw a world that was. We saw grandparents and people who were married for years and years, whether it was your family or not. We saw a world that does not exist anymore. Nice. And the world that exists right now is extremely competitive. Even here in the South, the stigma on interracial marriage ain't nowhere what it was even 20 years ago. And like Dr. Tia San Johnson will tell you, non-Black women are actively pursuing Black men. I see it every day here in Buckhead. Yes. These women don't want to compete. These other women are like, you don't want to compete? They got no problem competing. They got no problem smiling, fixing plates, whatever. So it comes down to a matter is it easier? Is it easier to do what we're asking as men, or is it easier to live the rest of your life alone? Right. Do you think this is maybe?
Tell the truth, Godfather. Tell the truth. Is it easier to just lose weight? Okay, get in alignment, work on yourself, and you have a relationship with somebody, or just fight against everything and just be miserable for the rest of the days of your life?
Short-term thinking, because I've even got a few friends of friends. Maybe you've got a woman and she's 36 and she's making $65,000 a year and she's got her kid, and maybe she's not very attractive, but she's just willing just to stay at home, and she wants to have a boyfriend, but she's not on any apps, and she's kind of waiting, if we can be honest, that he just kind of shows up at her door, right?
The answer is they're all going to the league. They don't expect it to be them. They're the one that's going to be. That's why I said it's possibility is more important than probability. Yes. That's what I said. Exception is more than norm. If you ask your friend, what's the probability that you're going to find a husband's going to find you? They'll tell you they got a 50. Look on my channel. I don't know how actively you watch my content. They will tell you 50, 70, 80% when we currently have a Black marital rate amongst Black women of 26%. And they will tell you they got a better than 50-50 shot. And that's what my show has done. It's shown that no matter what position women in, they honestly think it's going to be them, because here's where it comes back. They believe in faith. God's going to do it for me. Yes. And that's why I keep shooting that down. Don't put that on my God. He ain't never said that. And if it ain't God, it's manifestation madness. I'll manifest it. Because the reality is, it's less than a 10% chance. And that's too hard for people. It's too hard for women to admit.
Right.
That I have mismanaged my youth. I have been mismanaged my womb. I've mismanaged my time, and I put myself in a position to where the kind of caliber of man that I would want to spend the rest of my life with does not know me and is not currently vetting me for being anything, much less a wife. Because you ask these women, like your lady friend, uh, do you have the kind of caliber of man that you would be interested in actively vetting you to be a wife?
No.
No. Okay. Have you ever? No. What, and if you just start asking them, where are these men? Who are they? What are they? And they will tell you, they just expect it to happen. Last point. When I ask women, forget what I'm saying. I could be all wrong. Bump that. But when you get to retirement age at age 65, are you going to have your $2.4 million to survive on between ages 65 and 85? Cash. And I will have women who are making $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, $30,000 a year tell me I'll have it. How? Well, I plan on starting a business.
Eyelashes, right?
No. It's not even. No, it's real estate, stocks. It's something that doesn't require a professional degree. See, because the kind of money they need to make to overcome the lack of what they made in their younger years is going to have to be in excess of six figures. And we know the way to get those: doctor, lawyer, engineer, science, technology, engineering, math, accountant, some sort of professional certification in secondary education. We know when you go to university, they tell you these are the professions that have the higher incomes. But when you go over to liberal arts, humanities, or the business school, these, especially in business, marketing, business administration, communications, all these things, these are these degrees that have the possibility of being to have a higher earner, but the probability is low. So they're sitting here looking and saying, men know that there's no safety net. No one's coming to save us. And if we don't have enough money.
And that's the biggest problem. Because men have to have it figured out. From, they're grown, 18. Okay, you just got out of high school. You need to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to go to college. Because they know. There's no woman that's going to run. There might be some women, let's be honest. But for the majority, there's no women that are going to come and support their whole life. For the rest of their life, and make sure that they're good. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that they don't have to work at a certain age. Make sure that they have that, Social Security or money to take care of them. They don't have that. So they have to make sure that they are handling it. Whereas a woman, all you have to do is basically get on a man's accord. But you can't do that.
Streets are waiting for us. Women honestly have believed that somebody would do it for them. The government, they don't believe that you're going to start to see what's already happening. Tent cities of women and children. That's the largest growing homeless population right now. Young families defined as women and children. It's growing, but they don't. And all of this is, you would rather put yourself in this position versus being what a man is asking for.
Simple.
That's a choice. So you got to think about it. You would rather risk this other than cooperation with a man.
Right.
It's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much, Kevin Samuels, the Godfather, for coming over and blessing this stream.
Shout out to the Godfather. You guys know I love Kevin Samuels, and shout out to Lead Attorney as well. I'm glad I didn't watch the original video, and I'm glad that I actually saw the snippets that I needed to see here. And I love the way that they handled this conversation, and the dialogue that they had. It's sad when you see people who are helping people and at the same time they're hindering them within the same conversation. It's very, very tricky. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I genuinely want to know. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and again, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow my Instagram. It's at RIVAH_JORDON. It's really, really hurtful just because of the state that we are right now as women. And the fact that, again, like, a lot of people are not lining up to marry us and all of these things, and where we are on the totem pole. And the fact that people are trying to tell you how to turn it on and off. So it's basically like you're masquerading who you are. You're basically lying, okay? You're lying and pretending to get the outcome that you desire, but you still have those things in there that you can use and maneuver whenever you feel like, or turn them on and off whenever you feel like, and that's just not cool. So let me know what you guys think about this, like I said, in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm still trying to make myself feel better, drinking my sea moss and my tea and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to be popping out the videos like I usually do for now until I feel 100%. But make sure you guys also take time to rest. It is the weekend. I know that you guys work extremely hard. Make sure you guys take some time for yourselves to kick back, relax, and just chill, because you deserve it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Love you.